Good evening. If we could call to order the council meeting of June 12th, and if the clerk could please call the roll.
Councilmember Garza.
Here.
Councilmember Hussein.
Here.
Councilmember Jackson.
Present.
Councilmember Koss.
Here.
Councilmember Spatafor.
Present.
Councilmember Spitzley.
Here.
Councilmember Wood.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Councilmember Brown.
Brown? How did that miss? I'm sorry, Councilmember Brown. My apologies.
Present.
Why my list? My apologies. We are next to the meditation and pledge of allegiance.
Okay, is there anyone that someone would like us to remember during the time of meditation? If we could remember Harold Lehman. Harold has been in the hospital for the last 2 weeks, and so he's over at Sparrow on the 7th floor. So if we could remember him in our thoughts and prayers this evening, I would appreciate it. Is there anyone else? Okay, if we could please rise. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have before you the approval of printed council proceedings for May 15th.
And with that, Vice President Garza.
Thank you, Council President. I would move the minutes as written of May 15th and the May 22nd meeting.
Are the 22nd in there as well?
No, just the 15th.
Okay, just the 15th. Okay, we have a motion on the May 15th. Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Okay, we're next to special ceremonies. And our first special ceremony is a tribute and recognition of Lansing's 30th anniversary of the Juneteenth celebration in the state of Michigan state holiday.
And if we could have all those that are here for the Juneteenth ceremony, please come forward. And Vice President Garza. Look at all those people. If you could come around the well area here and fill in, that'd be great.
Come on, ladies. Fill in. Fill in the bag. Okay.
Tribute real quick. Excuse me. Pardon me. All right. Sorry. I don't want to block anyone.
Okay.
Hey, sweetheart. How are you?
All right. We got a lovely group of people behind me.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a tribute here from the City Council for Juneteenth, and I think this deserves a reading, so I hope I do not butcher it by any means. So, whereas the oldest African-American holiday was first recognized on June 19th, 1865, and is now an official state holiday in 15 states across the country, should be all of them. It was on June 19th, 1865, that the news of the Emancipation Proclamation, which President Lincoln signed on January 1st of 1863, reached the slaves of Texas. And whereas learning of their freedom, June 19, 1865, became the true Independence Day for African Americans in the United States. The slaves immediately left the plantations, congregated in the cities, and began celebrating their freedom by praying, feasting, dancing, and singing. And whereas this day was named Juneteenth Day, representing the joys of freedoms and new beginnings, commemorating the end of slavery in the United States by celebration of liberty, educating the community about the heritage, and promoting positive cultural interactions. And whereas the 30th annual Lansing celebration of Juneteenth and the 19th year recognized of Juneteenth Day as a state of Michigan holiday will kick off on June 15th at Lansing, I'm sorry, my eyes are getting bad at this age, at Lansing Community College with keynote speaker, the Honorable Supreme Court Justice Kyra Harris Bolden. That's right. In honor of the memory of its founder, the late Reverend Dr. Michael C. Murphy, the 2023 Juneteenth African American Parade will take place on Saturday, June 17th at J.W. Sexton High School with this year's Grand Marshal, Mr. Alan Holler, and Mr. James E. Bibbs. So now therefore, be it resolved, the Lansing City Council hereby recognizes the 30th annual Lansing celebration of Juneteenth and the 19th year recognition of the State of Michigan Juneteenth holiday. We extend our appreciation to the Juneteenth Committee for all their work in continuing the founding theme, Juneteenth, where the reunion begins. We wish you much success. And with that, I'd move the resolution. So please.
We have a motion to move the resolution. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, passes unanimously.
Thank you. Thank you. My turn? All right. It's my pleasure to stand before you. I'm Marilyn Rogers, Chair of the Lansing Juneteenth Committee, and behind me, the great Lansing Juneteenth Committee, as we're celebrating our 30 years. So we're jubilant, we're excited. You've heard what Juneteenth stands for, the historical perspective, and we want to share some highlights with you of what's going to be happening over the next few days we celebrate the 30th anniversary of Juneteenth here in the city of Lansing. The city of Lansing has been our backdrop for the last 30 years, and so we appreciate all of the support that we're granted in working with the various city departments to make it happen. We're going to be at the wonderful St. Joseph Park on the Friday and Saturday of the Freedom Festival, and we definitely want to share with you what's coming up. So I'm going to just turn around and have my committee members introduce themselves, let you know what part of the committee celebration that they're working on and what's in store for you. So let's start with Ayanna.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ayanna Allen, and I am on the Health Fair Committee. And I want to tell you a little bit about a health fair event that we have coming up. It's going to be on June 17th at St. Joe Park, and it'll be from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. And there we will have various vendors there, including the Ingham County Health Association, correct? Ingham County, Health Department. Also, we'll also have some opportunities for individuals to get resources, whether it's a domestic violence or what have you. So it's going to be quite a variety of vendors there. We're looking for everyone to come and stop by, and we're glad to have you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. No stranger. Come on up, Delisa. Everybody knows Delisa.
Oh, Lord have mercy. My name is Delisa Fontaine, and I am actually on two different committees. I am on the 5K committee, which this is a new event we're having this year, so please join us for the Lansing Juneteenth Committee and the Run the City 517. We want to invite you to participate. This is a run, walk, roll 5K through the west side of Lansing, the historic west side of Lansing, and it kicks off at 8:30 a.m. June 17th on Saturday, and you can visit the Juneteenth 5K website to sign up and for more details. Also, I am a member of the parade committee, and the parade will kick off at 11 a.m. in front of Sexton High School, and we will march through the historic west side. We hope to see you out there cheering everybody on, all the participants. We've even got 2 marching bands coming, so we look forward to seeing everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Delisa. All right. So we have a big facilities committee that takes care of everything that needs to happen and be in place there at St. Joseph Park. So I'd like to introduce Susan, if she would come forward. Let's see, and Ernestine as well.
I'm Susan Henderson. I'm the facilities coordinator over at St. Joe Park for the Juneteenth. And what I do, I get the ball rolling. I get the application started. I get that paperwork, making sure everybody is going to be placed exactly right. We have our showmobile coming on Friday morning. We got to make sure we have that all placed. And our tents are coming on Friday, so we have to make sure everything has a place to go to. So if anybody has any questions, they will call me if there's anything wrong in the park. So here I am, Susan Henderson. I'm the facilities coordinator.
All right, thank you, Susan.
Hello, my name is Ernestine Davis, and I am in charge of not emergency services, but security, as well as over emergency services as well. With a background in security, we just want to make sure that everybody is safe, behaving, and having a great time for our 30th celebration.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. I'm going to have Vanessa come up before you and talk a little bit about the volunteer effort that's needed. And I'm sorry, and then I'm going to jump back to LaToya Turner for children's activities. All right.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Vanessa Beasley. I am a party of one for volunteers. Basically, we do need volunteers and to help in the sites at the festivities this Friday and Saturday. So we are running short. If anyone know anyone that is available for Friday and Saturday, please have them contact. Well, you can actually go to our website. We do have a form that's available, and that's at the Lansing Juneteenth Celebration.org. And there, again, this is a form that is needed. So just have them fill it out, come and see me at the park, and I'll be glad to put them to work. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, LaToya.
Wonderful. And one of those areas that would like some volunteer assistance would be the children's area. So we have a children's area dedicated to those youth that are 12 and under. We have books, children's books dedicated to Juneteenth history. There's lots of giveaways. There's actually going to be a bicycle raffle. So if your kid doesn't have a bicycle, you want to stop by the tent and get registered for that. We have various yard games and music dedicated for the kids. And for the teens, we have a special game trailer that we'll be having for the first time ever this year. It has all kind of video games in this trailer, and then there's a dance pad on the back. Seems super cool. So yeah, if you have some kids, make sure you bring them out to the park. The children's area is open from 12 to 5 p.m. on Saturday, June 17th. So after you watch the parade, come on over to the children's area.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So next we'll have Marcia come up. Marcia Cunningham Plummer. Many of you will know her by that name as well. She's been a founding member of our celebration, and she's in charge of vendors.
Marcia Cunningham. I am in charge of vendors. I have probably about a good 30 to 40 vendors coming to the park and still have applications coming in. So come out, get some good food, good music, and have a wonderful time.
Thank you. All right. Okay. So I'm going to introduce Alicia. She can't speak because she's got laryngitis, but she also indeed with Ayana is over the health fair. So that portion has been recognized. Pastor PJ. If you'd like to come before us, please. Yes, ma'am. Yep, she's our historian, just stacked and loved with history. And if you would like to share with us.
Years before, my name is Pamela June Bente Banks Anderson, commonly called Pastor PJ or Chaplain PJ. My role is to keep history alive that is now being recorded as a part of Juneteenth history, and that is this: 30 or 40 years before Juneteenth, churches, particularly black churches, African American churches, would gather on New Year's Eve, and I bet you thought it was about watching for the new year to come in. Well, that's part of the story, but the other part of the story is it was also known as Freedom's Eve. And what we were also watching for was the day when we would be free. And so there was a lot of preaching and a lot of testimonies and a lot of praying and a lot of music and a lot of prayers for our freedom. And not just for our freedom, but for one another. We testified to what God had done for us that nobody else could the previous year, and to thank God for doing what only God could do for the year coming up. But most importantly, Freedom's Eve, and one day it really was Freedom's Eve, sure enough, no kidding.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So we have saved Angela for the last but not least to reflect on the rest of the activities, and we do have a special invitation in regards to our kickoff.
Thank you, to our illustrious mayor, to our wonderful president of this council, Councilwoman Woods, and to all of the esteemed council persons and everybody in the office. Audience, I need you to say 30 years. 30 years. I need you to say it one more time. 30 years, 3 decades is a long time to do anything. And as you can see and as you heard, we have something wonderful planned for this 30th celebration of Juneteenth. A lot of hard work has gone into this. Yep, you can get that a clap, clap, clap. A lot of hard work. A lot of phone calls, a lot of emails, a lot of everything. And so this is not something that we take lightly, and we want you to come out and just enjoy and have fun with us. We're going to kick this off on Thursday, June 15th at Lansing Community College. It's going to be fabulous. 5 o'clock, you are all invited. I want you to know that. All invited. I'm looking at you. So you're all invited to come, and you are invited to come too, because this history is a part of all of us, and all of us are connected. So we'll start at 5 o'clock. We'll have a reception, a good time, and then we will have with us the illustrious keynote speaker is our Michigan Supreme Court Justice Kyra Harris Bolden. Do you know who she is? If you don't, come to the kickoff, we'll tell you. And then we also have, we're going to scholarships. Part of what we do is education for our youth, providing scholarships. So it's not just a party, it's what we do with helping students in this community to go to school to further their education. And this is in honor of Mr. Cordell Henderson. He was a stapler in this community. And so it's important for us to remember and to honor people who have done the work. Are you with me? Some of y'all act like you're sleeping, but you'll wake up in a minute. So then on Friday, we're going to be at the park setting up and all of that good stuff with music starting at 4 o'clock. Bring your kids out, bring your chairs. We're going to be dancing. It's just going to have a great time. We got a DJ that's coming. We've got games for the youth and for the kids, and they can run all over the park because there's a lot of space.
There is a lot of space.
And so, and security. Yeah, somebody said security. And so then on Saturday morning, if you can walk, if you want to jog, or you just want to roll, then join the walk, run, roll, the 5K. It's going to be fabulous and fun. Good exercise. Then we're going to start everything off at 11 o'clock. The parade is going to wind through the community, as it was said. We want you to be there on the sidelines cheering. This is for us, everybody. Lansing, we started Juneteenth. We've been doing this a long time. Everybody else just got on board. 30 years.
That's right.
And so the National called us for us to connect with them because they wanted to know what were we doing. And they wanted to be a part of that, so we're connected on the national level. We're going to have music on Saturday. We're going to have gospel on Saturday. We're going to have R&B. We're going to have a youth when it comes to the music. But who all likes jazz? Do you like jazz? Raise your hand. Do y'all like jazz up here on this council? Okay, see your hands. So jazz, we have an international artist that's coming. Alexander Zontek.
All right.
Y'all looking like you don't know, but anyway, it's all good. The mayor likes jazz. He's always around. He'll probably be there. So he's going to bring some illustrious friends with him. Let me tell you something. This international artist has never come to Lansing. He always dips over to the Muskegon Harbor area. But this year, he's coming to Lansing, and it's free. Say F-R-E-E. It's free, so you don't have to pay. Just bring your chairs. Barbecue is going to be out there. We're going to have a good time. And we want you to have a good time with us. And we want all of you who can, because I'm going to be looking, because I'm always looking, see your faces. We want you to have a good time and be there with us as well. Y'all feel me?
I do.
Then I need you to be in the place.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you, thank you. Nobody says it quite like Angela, so she brings up the rear for us. But as we leave you today, we hope to see you throughout the week, our various activities that are planned with you in mind. So when we plan Juneteenth, we listen to the community. Community knows what community needs, and we listen. And so this year's celebration represents that. And so we are certainly looking forward to seeing you. But before we leave, we're going to leave some flyers with the council and some flyers outside so that you can make sure you're in where you need to be. So with that in mind, I want to just tell you, if you want to pick up a City Pulse, our full program is outlined in there. We have an event flyer. If you pick up the Michigan Bulletin on the back of the, on the front page, lower half, it talks about the history of Juneteenth. So it has been expressed in the resolution, but we want you to really absorb it and feel what it means. And one other thing I want to leave with you, you'll be seeing the Juneteenth flag. It flies in some of the local churches in the city. I'm still working on it, getting it in libraries and the community, and hopefully City Hall one day. But if you recognize the Juneteenth flag, there's a star in the middle. There is what's called a improvised star on the outside, and the colors are red, white, and blue, much like the United States flag, and that's what it represents. Juneteenth is a part of U.S. history. The star represents the lone state of Texas, where it started, and the red and blue, certainly the history of the lives lost, the blood, and the blue for the new beginning. So when you see this replication of the Juneteenth flag or fly it in your home or see it elsewhere, you know that it has meaning, it has purpose, and that's what we're all about, certainly to educate and to celebrate and to share this awesome history with everyone. Again, Black history is U.S. history, and we should all know our history, right? Okay, so thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing with us.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So we have,
for the public, just so you're aware, we are having some troubles with our coverage of City Council. Hopefully we will be back on. I'm not sure whether they're getting video or getting audio or not, but wanted to let you know that. Thank you. Hello, darling. How are you? I know. Okay.
Can we go?
How are you? It's good to see you.
Sure, we'll be there.
Thank you.
Thank you, yes.
And as the Juneteenth committee leaves the dais, our next special ceremony is in recognition of Jamie Ashby as 2023 Miss Trans Michigan.
And that is Councilmember Cost. Jamie or anyone else she would like to have come down with her, that would be great.
My chosen family is here. I mean, if y'all want to come up here with me, you're more than welcome to. No worries.
Nobody.
They're a little stage fright.
They're going, please don't make me do this.
I already learned from your mistake. I got bigger letters. I know my age.
Awesome sauce. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, good. Sometimes it takes a minute.
All right, so I'm going to read the resolution. Whereas Jamie Ashby, did I say that right?
Yes.
Competed and won Miss Trans Michigan for 2023, and in November of 2023 will compete for the national title as Miss Trans USA. And whereas Jamie was involved in pageants and won 8 times during her showgirl career, including Miss Michigan Pride, and whereas Jamie grew up in Lansing, and by the age of 4 recognized that she knew she was a girl and had a strong support system from her mother, who allowed Jamie to be who she was and dressed to match her gender identity, even in the face of school officials who did not know how to address this. And whereas Jamie lost her mother at a young age and continued to struggle with understanding from family members and experience bouts of homelessness, but was able to find a support system with her best friends. Jamie uses her platform to be a resource connecting with trans youth and the trans community at large. Passionate about sustainable housing for trans youth, Jamie volunteers and partners with AYA Youth Collective in Grand Rapids, Michigan, which serves as a drop-in shelter and safe place for LGBTQ plus youth experiencing hardships and housing instability. And whereas Jamie has had to bear a struggle most people could not comprehend as an adult, let alone as a youth, and into adulthood has risen above all of it to be a model for younger people who struggle with their identity. Now, therefore it be resolved, the Lansing City Council recognizes and applauds Jamie as Miss Trans Michigan 2023 and proudly recognizes her as the favorite daughter of Lansing. Be it finally resolved, the Lansing City Council recognizes Jamie for resolving her struggles, allowing her to show others it gets better. And Jamie is a role model for the LGBTQ plus community, not only in the month of Pride, but year-round. Ms. President, I move this resolution.
Thank you. We have a motion on the resolution. And I see no questions and I see no concerns. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously.
There you go. Congratulations.
So I prepared a speech today, and I'm just gonna move this microphone up because your girl is tall. There we go. So thank you so much. I'm completely honored and humbled to be receiving this recognition from the Lansing City Council for my advocacy and leadership in my community as Miss Trans Michigan 2023. My relationship with Lansing has mostly been bittersweet. I've seen some very dark days in my early adulthood living here, falling homeless for many years, struggling to wonder if I'll ever amount to something bigger. But on the opposite of that, I have had some pivotal milestones in Lansing that have shaped my life. I started my transition right here in this city. I got my very first job as a trans woman in Lansing. Members of my chosen family live here, and today I will remember this honor for the rest of my life. My mission as Miss Trans Michigan is to educate, instill hope and inspiration into our trans community, especially our youth, by sharing my story of adversities as well as success so that they may see their faces in mine and be encouraged to live in their truth. I believe that trans representation is paramount for our next generation, and I am committed to taking up space and being a visible role model for trans people across Michigan and hopefully nationally as Miss Trans USA. Accepting this honor of recognition, I am reminded of the strong trans women that advocated in this city before my time. And I fully stand on their shoulders being able to be here today. LaTorsha Zanelle, Rachel Crandall, Sharita Brooks, and Alize Harris. So I accept this recognition not only as my own honor, but also as a tribute to those who came before me. So, Lansing, as Miss Trans Michigan, I hope to make our state and community very proud at Miss Trans USA in November. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Hey, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, then, I'm sorry?
Go ahead.
Okay, we're moving up the appointment of John Scott as the at-large member of the Board of Public Service for a term to expire June 30th, 2024.
Councilmember Spatafor.
Thank you, Madam President. I would move the resolution appointing John Scott to the Board of Public Service. He spoke with us this afternoon in the Committee on Operations. He's lived in the city of Lansing for 2 years, has some extensive experience working, interning in city government, has worked actually with BSNA, so maybe he can help some of us learn that software as we acclimate to that. But he was looking for ways to serve his community, applied for some of the boards, and found the Public Service Board, while not on his list of choices, something that really fit his interests. He's a second ward member, and I would move the resolution.
Thank you. We have a motion on the resolution. Are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Mr. Scott, if you would come down, we'd be glad to swear you in at this time.
Here. All right. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. Do you solemnly swear or affirm
I solemnly swear and affirm
that you will support the Constitution of the United States
that I support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
and the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
and that you will faithfully discharge the duties
and I'll faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of the Board of Public Service member
of the office of the Board of Public Service members
according to the best of your ability.
to the best of my ability.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, and as that's being signed, we will take council member comments at this time. Council member comments. Council member Vice President Garza.
Thank you, Council President. I just want to say thank you to all those that came out to our town hall meeting we had this Saturday at the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Hall. It was very well attended, a lot of good discussion, and we look forward to having a follow-up meeting at some point either the end of this summer or early fall.
Thank you. Councilmember Jackson.
Thank you. I just want to invite everybody to the 4th Ward Constituent Contact Meeting every 4th Saturday of the month at Gregory's. That's 2510 North MLK. This month it'll be June 24th. That'll be from 10 o'clock. Beginning at 10 o'clock, come and discuss anything 4th Ward or City of Lansing related. See you there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Jackson. Councilmember Hussein.
Sure. So just a few comments. First, I want to thank folks that came out for our Southwest. It's our annual Southwest Action Group cleanup on June 3rd at Pleasant Grove and Homes. We did some weeding, we did some mulching, we did some trash cleanup, we did some planting, and there was a obvious and immediate, I think, kind of outcome and improvement. And so certainly appreciate everybody that was involved. I want to thank especially SWAG members Jason Wilkes, Trinidad Panavanaglu, David Weiner, Jody Washington, Angela Hussein, Larry McConnell, Samara Morgan, Commissioner Thomas Morgan, Jackson and Alex Morgan, Betty Wilkes, Norma Bauer, Delisa Fontaine, Robin Anderson King. I also want to thank the Public Service Department. We were concerned we might not be able to dispose of the trash, and they, in short order, were able to help us out with that aspect. I also want to announce the Churchill Downs Community Annual Picnic, which will be taking place June 20th at Wainwright Park at 4115 Stillwell. I want to give a special shout out to Israel Degree and Denise King, who are just absolutely, as picnic chairs, essentially, working their tails off. I think to bring forth a celebration that will truly stand as just that, a celebration of community. And what a fantastic community the Churchill Downs neighborhood is. That is actually at 6:30 p.m. There are some signs in the community that say 6 p.m., but they actually are scheduled to begin at 6:30 p.m. And I want to give a special thanks to our Parks Director, Brett Kaczynski, who's been fantastic in supporting that effort, as well as the LPD and the LFD for their work in terms of supporting as well. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was actually was at a Lansing Eaton neighborhood organization meeting last week. There were about 15 members from that neighborhood there. And I had an opportunity to kind of sit on the side and just take in really what was just an awesome, awesome proceeding. We had a number of staff members that were going above and beyond that were actually at that meeting. They weren't asked to be at that meeting. They weren't required to be at that meeting. And then in addition to that, we had a number of board members from respective boards and commissions throughout the city of Lansing that were there to speak to issues that matter to that particular neighborhood, I think to the broader community. And it really just kind of was impressed upon me just how much some of our employees and then some of our citizen advocates do to make Lansing the absolute best it can possibly be. I wanted to give a special thanks to Andy Fedewa, who is our principal planner. He was at that meeting to discuss the comprehensive plan update. Public Service Board member Jason Wilkes. If you don't know Jason, I don't know how you don't know Jason. He is everywhere at all times. He wears a number of hats. With regard to this particular meeting, he was there in the capacity of a Public Service Board member. And he was providing a number of updates on all things public services. And it was incredibly powerful, I think empowering really for the residents there. Also wanted to thank Delisa Fontaine, who is the Director of Neighbors and Citizen Engagement, who was there with her young son, who's learning to be civically engaged, and she was there to talk about all of the fantastic things they're doing within that department. And although he wasn't at this particular meeting, I have seen Augustine Martinez just about everywhere throughout Southwest Lansing, talking about the 311 call center, talking about the call agents and what they're trying to essentially bring forth for the citizens in terms of advocacy. So those people specifically I wanted to thank because, again, they weren't asked to be there, they weren't required to be there, but they were doing that out of the love of the city. So I really appreciate them. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other comments from council members? Seeing none. Councilmember Spitzley.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to remark on something that happened in our Development and Planning Committee meeting earlier this week. And I think that when I spoke to the director of the Economic Development and Planning, we had a little discussion about it, but it was very important, is when, you know, one of the developers came in and wanted, I think it was on an Oprah designation and an Oprah certificate, but this particular person owed, I think it was $3,800 in trash. And so one of the things that we, I think it went back to you, Madam President.
Yes, I'm going to be referring that back to the administration.
So one of the things that we wanted to talk about is, and what I talked about with Jason was that the vetting has got to be so that those type of things do not come to my committee or anybody else's committee when they're coming to council asking for something, but they have issues, whether they owe money for the city of Lansing or whatever. So I just kind of wanted to bring that up because it was a good conversation with the Director of Economic Development and Planning, but it was really concerning at the time that we had to, as council members, let that person know that they owed money, and therefore we would not be entertaining their request. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other Councilmember Hussein?
And I'm glad you mentioned that. I watched the playback of that meeting, and it wasn't even just that issue. There were resolutions where there were names that were incorrect and the like, and it was painful to watch. So I appreciate you bringing that up.
And we do have referrals that will be going back to the administration tonight. So thank you. Any other Councilmember comments? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk.
All right. Yes, on behalf of City Clerk Chris Swope, I just have a few things to mention. First, Clerk Swope cannot join us this evening because he's teaching a class for new clerks at the Michigan Clerk Association Conference. And second, all voters want to make sure of the upcoming election, you have that choice to vote one of three ways for the city primary. You can vote at home with an absentee ballot, early at one of our two sites, South Washington Election Unit, Lansing City Hall, or on August 8th at your polling place. Starting June 29th, constituents may vote early. You receive your ballot and vote in the same visit on the same day as when and it's also that day is when our ballots will begin being mailed out to voters' home. We have several thousand applications already in and more coming in every day for that. And if you want to be on that new permanent ballot list, complete the application and drop it off at any of our drop boxes, or you can put it in the mail, or you can complete that online for it. You will not have to complete an application again as long as you live in Michigan. So So this is a new opportunity for the voters. There's many changes happening in Michigan law, and Clerk Swope has been at multiple committee hearings and work groups to strongly advocate for elections which are accessible, secure, and accurate. And we'll keep you informed as those laws go into effect. If you have more questions, you can go to our website, lansingvotes.com, or call us at 483-4131. And last, I'd like to introduce Anna Stouffer Hopkins. She has recently joined our staff. She's born and raised in Lansing, and we're glad to have her move into a full-time position. So, welcome. With that, we are to community event announcements. If anyone in the audience, you have 1 minute to speak to share details about your event. First, we have Loretta Stanaway.
Volunteer sign-up is now open for up to 12 people to sign up to help clear and clean the 61 grave markers at the Boys Training School site in Mount Hope Cemetery. This event is scheduled for this coming Saturday, June 17th, from 11 to 1 p.m. We will provide buckets and water and sponges and gloves, and ask that you bring something to kneel on if you feel the need to do that. We're looking for about 12 people that can do about 5 graves apiece, and we will also provide snacks and beverages. Sign up is on our website at the FOLHC at wildapricot.org, or you can email us at landssemfriends@aol.com. We hope to see you there, and cemeteries rock.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other community event announcements? Seeing none, then we'll go on to speaker registration for public comment on legislative matters. You have about a minute more to complete the blue sheet and get it to Grace to speak on any items 1 through 20, which includes our 3 show cause hearings, the 5 public hearings, and the resolutions for action. So if you want to speak, you must sign in using the blue sheet. So now on to Mayor's comments.
Mayor Shore.
All right, thank you, Madam President. First, I want to remind everybody that on Monday, the City of Lansing will be closed due to the Juneteenth holiday. Our employees have the day off, so I hope everybody will celebrate Juneteenth. And I look forward to seeing everybody at the parade. I know it was mentioned already, the parade at Sexton at 11 on Saturday and all the other Juneteenth events. On June 26th, we'll be holding a Black History conversation and celebration in City Hall at noon. Mrs. Kalia Ali and will be there to speak, as will there'll be some awards given out. We have our mobile food distribution this Saturday from 9 to 11 at Tabernacle of David, which is 2645 West Holmes. The lineup starts at 7 a.m. Our concerts, our free concerts in the park start this Wednesday, so hope to see everybody at Moores Park for Tejano music this Wednesday at 7 p.m. And then next week, the Kathy Ford Band will be at Durant Park. I want to congratulate all the participants in the Juneteenth softball game. That was a lot of fun. I stayed for a little while, but couldn't stay for the whole game, but it looked like a lot of fun. I want to thank the folks with the watershed who did the river cleanup. They took all kinds of things out of our river this Saturday. I got to talk to them and see some of the things, including several tires that were pulled out of the river, so thank you to those folks. I want to thank the Solace Center for doing their resource fair on Saturday. It was just great to see a lot of the things that were being given out. Thank you to Higher Ground for your Schools Out event. Also on Saturday, it was a very busy Saturday, and thank you to everybody who came to the Mayor's River Walk and Run. It was a lot of fun to see everybody out there and enjoying. So busy Saturday morning and afternoon. I want to congratulate and thank all of our Lansing School District teachers and staff. I got to see several of them at the Lansing Promise event Friday, where we honored them. So great year, and thanks to congrats to all the students who graduated and moved up. I want to congratulate the Jackson House, which is the old McCree house over at the McLaren property, the old McLaren property, which is opened up by Child and Family Charities for a shelter and place where kids can go that need help. And then finally, I'd like to congratulate our legal staff. The settlement with Simtab is going to be great for our residents. Great job by Amanda O'Boyle. Great job by our legal staff to get that done and get those properties back permitted and fixed up to code and getting us repaid for the dollars that we put out to put people in hotels. So I was really glad to see that. Please give my thanks to Amanda O'Boyle, to Jim and Lisa and Joe and the whole staff. You guys did just a fantastic job. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Is there, Member Jackson? Okay.
Oh, shoot.
Thank you.
I forgot one thing. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
It just got texted me. The Lansing Celebration of Diversity event will be held on June 22nd at 4:30 p.m. Kim Coleman is definitely out there watching, so Kim, I apologize, but thank you for the text. And so the Lansing Celebration of Diversity, June 22nd, 4:30 p.m., City Hall. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we're on to public comment legislative matters. Legislative matter consists of the following items on the agenda. As I said, number 1 through 20, which includes resolutions for actions, and the following 3 show cause hearings. Order to make safe for demolish to the owners of property located at 3421 North Cedar Street, 131 Jackson Street, and 17 Denora Street. And no one signed in on those.
Okay, we'll have a brief description from Councilmember Hussein.
All right, so the first, orders to make safe for demolish is for the property at 3421 North Cedar Street. The listed taxpayer is Karen Allred, who lives in Lawrence, Michigan. The SEV of the home is $37,500. The estimated cost of repairs is $71,284. This was submitted into the demo process on September 2nd of 2020. There was a demo board show cause hearing on February 23rd of 2023. And at that hearing, there was a order by the demo board to make safe or demolish by April 23rd. This is a 60-day make safe or demolish if approved by council. Our understanding is that to date, there have been no permits pulled. The second, is for orders to make safe or demolish to the owners of property located at 131 Jackson Street. The listed taxpayer in this case is the Stone Brothers Construction Company. Registered agent is Robert Stone, who lives in Charlotte, Michigan. The SEV of the home is $26,300. Estimated cost of repairs is $49,215, and the original red tag date was back in June of 2020. The demo board did have a show cause hearing on February 23rd of 2023. Again, this would be a 60-day make safe or demolish. And the last property that we have is for 1722 Denora Street. The listed taxpayer is 1309 Vermont LLC, and the registered agent of that particular LLC is Richard A. Cascaria. The SEV of the home is $26,300. Estimated cost of repair is $91,866. This was red tagged 17 years ago, submitted in the demo on January 12th of 2023. The demo board considered this on February 23rd of 2023 and issued a 60-day make safe or demolish, which was not honored. So it has been conveyed to this body. In looking at BSNA, it does show that a roofing permit at one point was pulled, but that was expired as of 2019, and no other permits have been pulled on this particular property.
Thank you, Councilmember Hussein. And for each one of these, they will be referred back to the Public Safety Committee.
All right, very good. So I will now read into the record the 5 scheduled public hearings. We have the readopting the codified ordinances. We have Z4, 6 vacant lots along the west side of 3300 block of the unimproved North Large Street right away from R3 suburban detached residential to SC suburban commercial. Then we have Z5, 2023, 1906 East Miller Road and the vacant parcel at the southwest corner of East Miller Road and Aurelius Road from R3 suburban detached residential to RMX residential mix. Then we have Z6, 2023, 1326 North Chestnut Street, and vacant lots to the south from R6A Urban Detached Residential to RMX Residential Mix. And last, the noise special permit requested by E.T. McKenzie for a combined sewer overflow, project 34E. And do you want to talk about that first? And then
Councilmember Garza, if you'd address the first one.
All right, thank you, Council President. So this is something we do annually. After we pass the budget, we recodify all ordinances.
Thank you. Councilmember Spitzley, you would handle 7, 8, and 9.
Thank you, Madam President. The first one is a rezone of 6 vacant lots along the west side of 3300 block of the unimproved North Larch Street. It also includes a right-of-way, excuse me, from R-3 suburban detached residential to S-C suburban commercial. The applicant purchased 6 lots behind his business at 3323 Northeast Street, and those 6 lots are the subject of this request so that he can lawfully utilize them for outdoor storage related to his business. And we say lawfully because the applicant has been cited by the city in the past for using those lots for outdoor storage in violation of the zoning ordinance. During that time, the city also received complaints from the neighboring residential property owners about the appearance of the storage. The applicant also has a pending Act 33 request to vacate the unimproved right-of-way. If that is approved, the applicant would be the owner of that right-of-way. The purpose of the right-of-way is to provide street access to vacant lots located to the east so that they can be developed for single-family residential homes as permitted under the current zoning designation. The planning board reviewed this. There was a public hearing on May 2nd, 2023. And the findings of fact outlined in this report did not support a positive recommendation for the requested zoning. That's for Larch Street. The next one, the next one is for 1906 East Miller Road. The proposed rezoning will allow for the development that is consistent with the design Lansing Master Plan's low-density residential up to 6 dwelling units per acre. Future land use designation for the subject properties. The applicant's proposal is to develop approximately 55 units on an 11.11 acre site for a density of 4.9 units per acre, which is well within the density being advanced in the master plan. This was also the subject of a public hearing on May 2nd, 2023. The planning board, the zoning administration planning board, has a finding of fact that they support the positive recommendation for the requested zoning. The final one is 1326 North Chestnut Street and the vacant lot to the south. This is a request to rezone the property from R-68 Urban Detached Residential to R-MX Mixed Residential. Purpose of the rezone is to permit a multifamily residential building on the subject property. The applicant is considering a 4-unit row house with parking behind the building. This also had a public hearing at the planning board. The planning staff support a positive recommendation for the requested zoning. The proposed zoning will have no negative impact on traffic, public services in the environment, or future patterns of the development in the area. In addition, the new residential units will provide much-needed housing with convenient access to public transportation.
Okay. Thank you very much. And so that takes us to the noise waiver. Councilmember Spatafor.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
We talked about this in ops and didn't flag it. Again, yeah, sorry about that. This is a waiver for noise for the CSO project that would commence the 034E project, beginning from Saturdays 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. between June 24th, 2023 through November 11th, 2023, and April 13th, 2024 through June 29th, 2024. We were told in committee that this would be necessary only if they ran out of time or scheduling conflicts came up that they needed to move into those Saturday hours, and they were not planning to do that, at the forefront, which is why, this will not be voted on until after the project starts. But they do need those dates to ensure that if work does get delayed for weather or delays, they have time to do it in the time that's been allocated. And this is one of the projects that is mandated by our consent agreement with the federal government.
Thank you. We'll go back to the clerk.
Okay, yep, so we're now at public comments. The public may comment up to 3 minutes, but first I want to make council aware that we have received 2 written public comments, one from Shannon Garrett in opposition to the noise waiver, and then from Gary and Regina Cousins in support of the waiver. With that, our first speaker is Darren Tews.
This is for item 7, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, yep. So I had purchased these properties probably over 3 years ago. When I first bought the building at 3323 Northeast Street, the properties had sat vacant and had been up for sale for the past 3 years, which those are posted twice a year. And one of the issues we had back there were people were driving back there, people were doing drugs back there, and some of the residential owners that were there were using this as their own, fire pits, vacant cars, and so on that were parked. So what we did is we went ahead and purchased those properties, and then after purchasing the properties from the land bank, we had found out that there was a right-of-way there. It was never mentioned in any of the sales documents or anything. Nothing was even found out until I actually had the property surveyed. So that became a little issue. When speaking with zoning, they basically told me that nothing could be done. I asked if we could even turn it into a community garden, and zoning stated that there was no room for people to park, which I don't understand because they kept talking about Frederick Street when the zoning had already known that there was a vacant right-of-way. In the past, yes, we were fined once. We were fined once by the city of Lansing. We had paid our dues, and then that's when I put more pressure on zoning to find out how can I go ahead and do this application to try to get them changed over from the zoning of residential to commercial. After I've paid the money to do the applications and so on, we were misrepresented by the city in zoning. They were trying to state we wanted to turn this into industrial lots, which was incorrect. This is about the 4th or 5th meeting. I've met with my ward member, I've met with the mayor, and it just sounds like the city of Lansing does not want to abandon this right-of-way. It's a dead-end alley. I don't know if there's partial metals or gold earning this thing. But I do know that the city of Lansing is losing $4 million a year in property tax and city income taxes. That's on the news. I employ 35 to 40 people, all paying city income taxes. And here I'm trying to upgrade my business to stay in Lansing and to pay more taxes. And it doesn't seem like the city's interested. Out of the 35 people that are around this area, there's 2. There are 2 owners that have here to complain. The one owner is the gentleman that's directly next door to the vacant lots that I own that was using that property as his own. Upset that we had fenced it off. So that's why he is here. We are just trying to figure out what we can do with the city of Lansing to get these either lots improved as commercial. If not, we are going to move ahead and turn them into investment properties. I think it's just the property owners that are here to complain want this to go back to the original, it was a woods, there's deer, and so on. In that case, I guess they should have bought the property when they had their chance. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Okay. Our next speaker is Michael Zaleski, followed by Christopher Graham.
Yes, hi, I'm Michael Zwolinski. I live on 538 East Frederick Ave. I am one of the bordering properties of the lots that were purchased by this gentleman. And since they have been purchased, there has been noise complaints. There's constant big heavy machinery trucks and just like big machines driving back there and just causing lots of noise even on the weekends and the mornings. And you know, I work in construction for the IBW, and I hear loud machines all day as it is, and I come home and I'm not really trying to listen to big machines and trucks drive around my property. I purchased this property about 5 years or so ago, not knowing that, you know, those were going to be bought by somebody, or, you know, that was going to try to use them for commercial purposes. Yes, they were vacant and there was an auction. I was not able to attend this auction to purchase any of the properties at the time. I have a newborn baby at the house, and just the noise and just like the keep up on the lawn and around the fencing has not been kept up since the properties were purchased. It might get mowed every once in a while, but close up to the fence there is definitely grass and weeds growing through into my property as well. So, and that's all I have.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, next is Christopher Graham, followed by Robert Sweet.
Good evening, board members. My name is Christopher Graham. I reside at 3220 North Cedar Street. I'm not here really to complain about what is going on, but I'm out here to address some of the false statements. I've lived in this neighborhood for 19 plus years. There's been no drugs, there's been no abandoned cars, there's been no drama in the back. What has happened is the gentleman has put up a fencing to block off the right-of-way that we use and everybody else in the neighborhood uses for kids to play, for us to walk our dogs, to get to the store. It's a shorter route and it's open roadway. But there's fence there now that is illegal, and it's been there for quite some time. We've addressed it, nothing has happened. I do know my neighbor Todd Chauncey sent something to, I believe, Chris Swope that shows pictures and his statement about what has happened and to address some of these situations. Very upset about the big trucks and trailers. When it's closing time, look out, you might get ran over. The way these trucks come up the side street, the main street. As I say, I'm not complaining, I'm addressing the situation. I do have my neighbor's letter that he wrote to Chris Swope, and I have numerous pictures of how it looks on the other side of the fence. Our yards are manicured and detailed. The gentleman that spoke previously about the situation, it's horrendous if you look at these pictures, what it looks like on the other side of the fence. And there's several to dictate, along with my neighbor Todd's letter also. So I strongly disagree. I didn't buy my house to live in, as he calls it, suburban commercial. It's been a nice neighborhood. We don't have problems. It's a quiet neighborhood. When those trucks and all that equipment's being moved, it's terrible at night. It's terrible in the morning. It's not fair to us. We didn't sign up for this. And there's more than just two neighbors. The whole neighborhood has a problem with it, whether they want to come here and address it or not, but it is an issue. And the trucks are tearing up the road as we speak also. So I have a problem. Thank you for letting me share. I'd like you to take a look at the pictures. I'll collect them afterwards, and you tell me what you think. You can see the evidence of our yards are manicured in the other side of the fence. Rubbish, overgrowth, proof is in the pudding right there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and we are making copies of those.
Okay, next is Robert Sweet, followed by Thelma Henderson.
Good evening, council members. Excuse me, I am not a public speaker, so please forgive me. I only have a couple things to say. I'm talking about the rezoning of 1906 East Miller. I won't talk about the green space. I won't talk about the wildlife that's there. I won't talk about it being in my family, the next door neighbor, for 82 years. What I want you to know is if this goes through, Miller Road and Aurelius Road are going to be overwhelmed with traffic. It's bad now. Sometimes I wait 5-6 minutes to get out of my own driveway. And with 50 more units down there, it is not going to get any better. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
All right, next is Thelma Henderson, followed by Samba Sadie.
Hi, my name is Thelma Henderson.
I live at 415 Pleasant Street. This is concerning the property at Chestnut, at the corner of Chestnut and Pleasant Street, the 2 vacant lots, which face my property. I have 2 neighbors here also, one that is directly right across from the property, and the other one, Ms. Woods knows him as Dale Benjamin, that is a good friend of mine that passed away. He also lived right across from him. We understand, we know Samba wants to build and bring new people into the neighborhood. We fully understand that. What we don't understand is why he wants to block off the view of Chestnut. To me, we like the view. We like to be able to see the neighborhood. We like to be able to see people walking through the neighborhood. But if you put a big building across the whole front section of Chestnut Street, it's gonna block the view. It's gonna block the view for my neighbors. It's gonna block the view for me, all the other neighbors that live there. And the amount of traffic that's gonna be brought into the neighborhood that will come onto Pleasant Street is gonna be overstressed. Then when they have friends, they're gonna block up the streets. We have narrow streets as it is right now. Our neighborhood was built back in 1895. My house and 4 others were the first homes built in that neighborhood back in 1895. Walnut Street is a 1-car lane that's not big enough for 2 cars. You can barely get 2 cars to pass each other on Chestnut or even on Pleasant Street. It just wouldn't suit if the big building was there and all the traffic came off onto Pleasant Street. It would just overwhelm the whole neighborhood. And I know there's a lot of neighbors that are trying not to even think of this going up. If he compromised and did something different, made the buildings separate, side by side, maybe one on each side of the property, would be all great because we would still have a view of Chestnut Street. We would still have a view of our neighbors' houses. We all tend to help each other and look after everybody's homes, whether they're home and they're on vacation or they're at work. We try to keep an eye on everybody and help everybody. You build a big building, it's gonna block it off. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Next is Samba Sadie, followed by Phil Parker.
Good evening. My name is Samba Sadie. As Thelma said, my wife and I, we own the property on Chestnut and Pleasant Street. Currently, we are approved to build 3 single-family homes, but we are planning to build a quadplex. And the reason for that, as a landlord, we own quite a bit of properties in the Lansing area. We get regular calls from tenants in need of housing. And I believe it is a common knowledge that in the Lansing area, there is a high demand for housing, but there are limited stock. So it's in that view that we plan to build a quadplex in that area. Regarding the traffic, it is a common knowledge that single-family homes generate more traffic than apartment buildings. This is based on US survey. So in order to be respectful to our neighbors, we strongly believe whenever we buy properties in any neighborhood, we come in, generally we would buy the ugliest house in the neighborhood and make it the most beautiful house in the neighborhood. One of them is the property right across from the lot we are talking about. When we came in, it was in one of the most dilapidated conditions, but today the story is totally different. And when we build, when we build a quadplex, our plan is to create enough parking space for our tenants so that there will not be a need for them to park on the streets. And all those things will be factored into our planning, which will be submitted to the city for approval. And we hope that we will create an environment that will be conducive for our neighbors as well. And that is the vision and that is our mission. We want to provide rentals to the Lansing area, to the Lansing area market, but at the same time also address the needs of the neighborhood. And some people did mention in our previous meetings that that they wanted to buy to make it into a garage, but they didn't have the opportunity to do so. to some extent, what it appeared to me was they had some personal grievances for not getting the property, but we got it. And which is quite sad because I believe by doing what we plan to do, it will definitely address the rental need in the Lansing area. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you will consider our plight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next is Phil Parker, followed by Mike West.
Hi, I'm Phil Parker, project manager with E.T. McKenzie Company over the CSO 34E project. Thank you for the explanation, Councilmember. Just like to reiterate the fact that the Saturday work order for number 10, the noise special permit, it will be between the hours of 8 a.m. and 4:30, so we won't be starting up equipment or causing commotion early on. We work hard to follow those rules. As of now, the 7 a.m. start, we follow that strictly. I make sure to tell my crews, we're not even walking across the street to the neighborhood till after 7. And as Councilmember mentioned, it's going to be on an as-needed basis, so we're not going to be out there every Saturday. It rains in Michigan in the summer, so if we got to make up a day here or there, that's the plan. This will, of course, exclude holiday weekends as well. We know people have family members in during that time, and we don't want to disrupt any family events, so holiday weekends excluded. And like I said, I just thank you guys for your time and consideration.
Thank you, sir.
All right, next is Mike West, followed by Crystal Chabero.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mike West. I'm with Green Development Ventures, 2186 East Center Avenue in Portage, Michigan. I'm here today as the applicant on item number 8, the 1906 East Miller Road rezoning request. We did approach city staff over the winter. I met with Ms. Statuitz on a couple of occasions to discuss our proposal. As indicated in the staff report and as affirmed by the Planning Commission in their public hearing in May, we do believe our request is consistent with the Lansing master plan and future land use map for this area. We also believe it's consistent and compatible with the surrounding land use and zoning pattern. There is a church to the south. There is a mix of single-family detached and attached condominiums to the west, offices and industrial zone property to the north, and then some industrial land uses along the east side of Aurelius. We're also uniquely located on the corner of two major, roads that are classified as minor arterial roads or primary connectors, and that would be East Miller Road and Aurelius Road. Also, both of those roadways are along two major bus routes. We believe our development would fit in nicely at this location, will help alleviate the critical housing need and shortage that's facing Lansing and much of Michigan. And we respectfully request your consideration of the rezoning. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, next is Crystal. Thank you. Followed by James.
It's a weird one.
Pollock. Oh.
Hello, my name is Crystal Robichaux once again. I live on North Walnut. I am one of the neighbors of the houses or quadruplex that may be built on the corner of Chestnut and Pleasant. I live on Walnut. It is a dead end, one lane, one way that only goes out. We get people coming down there the wrong way. We understand that. It happens. But I've lived on the south side of Lansing where we had quadruplexes over there. I've also lived on the east side of Lansing. Similar situation. I've had experiences with these smaller apartment buildings, and I understand the goodwill. I mean, I've had housing plights myself, and I've put myself and bought a house in a neighborhood that I felt conducive to my goals and my dreams of living in the city of Lansing and staying here. And eventually, yeah, I'm starting to think of moving to Tennessee. And many of my neighbors, I know it doesn't seem like it, but it is a mature neighborhood. So bringing in, we're essentially getting, in our opinion, it could be wrong, it could turn out different, but we've seen this housing structure before. We've got Willow Vista right up the street. We got Walnut Park. Walnut Park is pretty nice for what it is. Willow Vista is just scary. So being that this is coming into our family neighborhood, and it's just, we're gonna have a building of wild cards. And that does make a lot of us very nervous. But on Walnut, we can't even get our street repaired. We've got potholes they keep patching and covering up, which only damages our vehicles further, for the simple fact of it just turns into stone and gravel scattered on the street. I've seen a few of you guys in my neighborhood a few times, and a lot of you know which neighborhood we're talking about. And it's a great neighborhood. A lot of people are unaware that we're there, and it makes for a very peaceful, in-city, serene scene. We are, as dysfunctional as we may be, a very close-knit neighborhood and community. And the house that the landlord here was presenting across the street, it looks about the same as when he got it. He's got new windows. That's great. That's a improvement. But when we have to reach out to city members for him to maintain his vacant lot, that kind of speaks volumes. And for him to be the steward of our neighborhood and controlling what's going to be presented and given to us is, yeah, it's nerve-wracking, it's intimidating, but it's also scary for those of us that have structured our lives in this comfort neighborhood. I just want you guys to please consider 3 maybe, but like the 4, I mean, I wish this wasn't happening, but thank you for your time. Just please take this into consideration.
Thank you.
Okay, next is James Pollock, followed by Kelly Austin.
James Pollock. I own, and for 20-some years, I've owned 4 houses in this neighborhood and 8 houses within walking distance. I've invested and improved houses, and I've seen the neighborhood going from early on. I had kids shooting guns through my porch windows, and the police said, "We got this gang that keeps running up your street at night. We try, you know," and all that stuff's gone. And over the time, I've improved all that. My goal, and I don't know what these parties' goal is to take a house and rehab it, rent it, and then at a certain point that it's mature, sell it. And I've done this a couple of times, and they're going to continue to do that. And this is, you know, we started off talking about celebrations in neighborhoods. This has become a neighborhood. There's Joe that lives across the street from me. On one side, I own the house on 1336 Chestnuts, this corner house. Joe lives on the side of me, and his parents live across the street from me. He's got relatives up the street and relatives down the street, and he wants to buy my house to get more of his people in. Well, I don't think we're going to get any new people in a rental apartment building. We want neighbors. I propose build some single-family homes so we can improve the neighborhood, because it's a great neighborhood. It's small, old, it's well-used, everybody knows everybody, and I'm just afraid apartment building with new people all the time it will not add to the neighborhood. And from what I understand is the, what do you call it, the Willows, the thing next to Consumers Power, is bankrupt. It's a giant, large apartment complex, and there's 2 more scheduled to be built on the old School for the Blind site. So we don't need it. And I don't know, you guys would know, but whatever the proposal is that you can have an apartment building in a neighborhood, it must be back from when people walked. You know, I mean, this is not something that you just do, you know. And these are small lots. It's a postage stamp, you know, they'll probably have enough room for, 5 foot of grass if they put 4 units in here. So I just don't see it improving the neighborhood. And we've got a neighborhood now, so, it's a nice little park in Edmore, and every so often the neighborhood has a get-together. And I don't see renters coming in and enjoying that as opposed to single-family homes. So I propose, if he wants to put some single-family homes in, great. But we're just not that interested in this as an improvement. And so we'll Juneteenth celebrate that this doesn't happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we have Kelly Austin, followed by Michael Lynn. Kelly Austin? Kelly Austin?
Okay.
You can't hear Kelly Austin? Oh, no. Kelly Austin.
Okay, go to Michael.
You can decline, it's okay. Okay.
Not a problem.
I'm Kelly Austin, and I live right across the street from this eyesore of a lot. The man doesn't take care of the grass at all. The trees are overgrown. He's gonna put, like, I don't know what they can call them, apartments or duplexes or whatever in there. That's not. Why? These are single-family homes in our neighborhood. It's a little cove. We don't want people in there who's gonna destroy our neighborhood or even our roads because they got no place to park. We don't have the room on Chestnut Street for that to happen. And by the way, I was the one who inquired about the property to build a garage on there.
Ma'am, if you please address the council
Okay, I'm
at
sorry.
this time. Thank
I
you.
was the one who inquired about building a garage on that land. I was told flat out they wouldn't sell to us. Okay, so let's get that story straight. We had the money to do it, but we were told no. I just do not see this coming out as a good thing for single-family people. There isn't going to be anywhere for the kids to play, because there won't be, maybe like the guy just said ahead of me, there's going to be 5 foot of maybe grass line for them to play on. We have speeders up and down our cove all the time. Somebody's going to get hurt. And I'm the one that has to go out there and tell the guys to slow down. I'm not a very nice person sometimes. So I may end up calling the cops a lot when this place gets in there. You gonna wanna hear from me every night? I work for a living. I don't wanna be disturbed. Our cove is very quiet and it suits me just fine. I've been there for 30-some years. I don't wanna see this in there. Apartments don't belong in a cove like this. Why don't they just buy up Consumer Powers who's moving out and just build them into apartments? Everybody's got fences back there for that. So that's all I got to say.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, next is Michael Lim, followed by Stan Shuck.
Our illustrious mayor, I heard tonight. I'm going to talk on the budget and really where we go forward from here. I really wish all those individuals hadn't left from here. It's unfortunate that the propaganda paid for by the city of Lansing has the impact that it does, that people come here and say things like that or shake hands and hug on a person who was found guilty of violating the L.A. Larson Civil Rights Act. It sucks. It is what it is. It's the reason I don't go to Juneteenth, because of that behavior right there. Outside of that, with this budget moving forward, I know you guys are going to pass it through, and I really wish we had really figured out how to reallocate those funds other than just giving it back. But it is what it is. What I'd ask of the council is to have some checks and balances in place. We know as of today, he sent out an email, the mayor, trying to buy 2 positions up on this council, so you know you're under attack. You've been under attack forever. You only really have one point of questioning whether what he's doing is wrong or not, and that's the city attorney who works at the service of him. I think Shelby Fair said the same thing when I was watching one of the Flint City Council meetings when she was being questioned by their council, and she named that I work at the pleasure of the mayor when being asked tough questions. That's what you guys are up against, ultimately. It really is, and I see the heart you guys have. I went to that meeting that Adam went to. Matter of fact, I'm at every meeting you all are at. I don't get paid for it, but you'll celebrate me one day up there. You guys are up against it, man, and I just feel like, you know, even with some of the questions asked today, you know, you guys say things like you don't recognize what we're really up against, and it disturbs me. I don't see why we can't name the thing, and I just don't. I don't know why as much grace is given. I don't know how many times he's come up here with a last-minute ditch effort to run $175 million through the taxpayer's mouth, but how often are we going to allow this to happen with an city attorney opinion? And I think you guys need to know how city attorneys or how attorneys work in general. Brian probably knows this. They can take any argument and form it towards themselves. That's why people can move from being a prosecutor to a defense and back, wherever the money's at or however they feel like moving. They can take any situation and move the argument towards themselves. And that's where you guys are getting the information on whether things are legal, whether it's right, whether we should be doing it. It's city attorney opinion. But his job is to make whatever's being told to him sound good to you all. So I just ask that you guys seriously put some checks and balances. I know your guys' heart is in the right place, all but maybe one of you. Just do something to make sure that this money isn't spent fraudulently. $1.9 million was reallocated again, and I keep telling y'all gonna have to pay me mine here soon. Where's that gonna come from? I ain't heard nothing about that. I had a lady come to me the other day asking about, at your guys' meeting, tax dollars being spent inappropriately from the state, and I just thought to her, like, what do you think about the tax dollars being spent in our city? All of the corruption up there costing us millions of dollars in attorney fees and so on, and you guys are the only checks and balances we have for that, so I'll speak more on him later.
Thank you, sir.
All right, next is Stan Shuck, followed by Loretta Stanaway.
Good evening, Stan Shuck. I want to talk about the budget too. I was watching it at home, and boy, it really is an upside-down pyramid. It's been like that for a long time. This isn't a new situation, and neither is back funding the budget with vacant positions, which, regardless of what you want to say, that sounded exactly like what's going on. I mean, those jobs, like I told you before, they're not going to fill any of those jobs till July 1st because they've already spent the money. The money's gone. It's gone. So why aren't we hiring anybody? Well, pretty simple. There's no money until July 1st. But you talk about taking that money and reallocating it back. Once again, I got to wonder, those 6 seasonal jobs, they're still vacant from the fee. It's a fee for services yet to come. Those jobs haven't all been filled in years and years. That's a fee. That money can't be used in any other way. So where is the money from those 6 positions? You know, exactly where is it? Because if that money was used, money that we pay in a fee for services for compost, recycling, street sweeping, leaf pushing, and catch basin cleaning, and 6 employees. If that money is being reallocated to go back into something else, like I've said week after week, that's an absolute crime. It's a crime against every taxpayer in this city. And then you had the audacity to just raise that fee again to cover all the things that you're not doing. So why would you raise a fee for positions that you don't have and things that you aren't doing? Because you want that money for something else. You're taking that money and backfilling the budget with money that is a fee for services. Prove me wrong. I mean, I wish you would. I wish you would, but I don't think you can. And that's a disgrace. Every one of those jobs that is vacant, the people of the city of Lansing, you need to understand that is theft of services from you. You pay taxes for services and maintenance. You pay taxes for those positions and for people to do that work. For every job that is vacant that you pay for, those services are going undone. LFD, LPD, parks, snow plows, I don't care where it is. And like Ryan said, the only jobs that have been posted for months, you got 1,400 ongoing. And incidentally, you talked about the difference in pay. The same job in composting here starts at $24 an hour at Granger. $24 an hour. You're not even close.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Loretta Stanaway, followed by Erica Lynn.
Okay, going back to some of these budget issues from earlier, there's a pattern that I see here that really concerns me, and that's that when the public millage public safety millage was presented to the people for the vote, it was not made clear to them that two things were going to happen. One, that the fire station would be moved. Yes, everybody knows and agrees Station 9 needs to be replaced. It's in horrible condition. Nobody debates that. There is room next to Station 9's existing building to build a new facility while the old one is still in use until the new one goes up. I cannot find anything anywhere that publicly showed the voters before their vote was cast that they were voting to move that station over to South Washington. I can't find it. If you can find it, show it to me, because they didn't know they were voting to take a station from a central location to a location on the far western border of its territory, where it will increase response times, where the traffic will be worse, where it's nearer to more residences, where it's going to be a greater risk coming and going from that facility than it is off of Glendale and Cedar. The other part is that we didn't have any indication from anyone until just now that Southwest office complex was going to be demolished. How much money have we put into renovating, repairing, updating, restoring that facility in the last 5 years? And now you're talking about, oh, well, you know, let's just tear it down. Where is the transparency? Where is this administration coming back to the public saying, well, look, you know, we ran into this bump. Oh, geez, now we have to go in a different direction. Oh, look, we ran into a bump with the fire station. Oh, geez, you didn't know you were voting to move it, but hey, you know, that's what's happening. So how do you think I feel about Parks and Recs and this promise that the budget money will end up back there? And how much is the chance going to be, oh, geez, you know, we're sorry, it didn't happen.
Thank you.
All right, next speaker is Erica Lynn, followed by our last speaker for this section, Nicholas Sandy.
Hello. So we've heard a lot tonight that has a lot to do with what I really want to talk on, which is the budget. I just want to point out that the whole point of budget cuts and budget changes and all of the back and forth and the HE hockey sticks that we all just went through the last few months and conversations and vetoes and all of that hard work and all of that thought put into things, those are all intended when you cut departments, when you make massive budget cuts, that I shouldn't say massive because they weren't massive enough, but when you make cuts like that, there's intention behind that, and it's to have an impact on the way that we are operating, on the way that we're doing things. That is the whole point of having budget cuts come through. To just move the money right back around defeats the entire purpose, just holistically. So we're right now completely missing the opportunity to even identify any areas of change. And that's so disappointing, because it was so promising at one point that we were actually going to be taking a step back and really looking at things before just, again, you know, reallocating money over and over and over. The fear-mongering that the mayor did regarding the budget amendments and the cuts and throughout that process that he agreed to, we have to remember that he agreed to that budget, was disgusting. And the fact that he wasn't alarmed and he was not upset in any way about the cuts to all of those departments, but only cuts to his office, says a lot about his character. Instead of bringing out truth and facts about that process to his department heads, he wrongfully threw you all under the bus. He was dishonest about his role in the changes and why he was all of a sudden now upset. That is disheartening, and it should have been addressed officially. The cuts and changes didn't mean panic. It should not have meant everyone is being punished. It should not have been perceived that way. It was supposed to be a proactive approach to the financial future of our city, because we are in dire straits and we all know it. Just moving money around without addressing the underlying issues of how we got there, without making meaningful changes, it literally eliminates the entire need to make decisions that are rooted in actual strategy. We literally just went back to status quo, and I cannot tell you how disappointing that is. We are never going to get out of the situation that we are in as a city financially if we continue to be dedicated to the status quo. The tough decisions, the strong leadership that's needed to navigate our department heads when things like this come up, and our city through these kinds of challenges and these conversations, does not exist in the current mayoral administration. He's only concerned with how our city looks and the optics on the outside. And when optics are your only concern, there's no vision, there's no strategy, and it's why we are yet to see any meaningful progress in our city. It's Band-Aids and ribbon cuttings. That is all we are seeing. I want you all to just figure out how to be the true check and balances that we need, or the future of our city, again, dire straits.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our last speaker is Nicholas Zandy.
I think you've probably seen me at many, many council meetings before, so I don't know if I have to introduce myself. But yes, I am Nicholas Zandy, candidate for city council, and I am here to speak on agenda item 18, specifically the budget amendment. I'm going to point, and what was talked about previously due to this budget is actually something that is fairly close to my house, and I happen to know a few people who work at that place. And that is a plan to demolish the South Washington Office Complex, or SWOC for short. I am disheartened that that was ever even, for one, considered, or now just actually been brought to life. I've voted for that. I was one of those people who voted for that police and fire station ballot proposal. And I do think that the Fire Station 9 should consider a new location. But the fact that you had to choose SWOC of all places and tear that building down, a historical building, just for a frickin' police and fire station that could be built somewhere else. Excuse me for hitting the mic. And it just angers me because I volunteered there for the clerk selection unit for many, many years. And I feel this is also very disenfranchising to voters who still vote in person. Because by then, where are they going to put the precinct? I mean, I guess maybe there's a religious school on Cedar, but that of course won't work because they got anti-abortion signs, and we all know politics ain't allowed in precincts. And so where else are you going to put that thing? Where else are you going to put a precinct? What are the voters going to think? Again, people of Lansing voted for this, and they gave us this. This just makes me so angry. And considering the whole controversy with Andy Shore trying to pick and choose candidates to his liking, this shows just how corrupt and complacent the city has become. And just the fact that I've heard, wasn't properly communicated with the city council ahead of time until somebody, me, had to communicate it for them. This just shows how corrupt our city is and how poorly things are communicated.
Thank you.
Okay, then we're to the referral of public hearings.
The first for the recodifying of the ordinances will go back to Committee of the Whole. Z4-2023 will go back to Development and Planning. Z5-2023 will go back to Development and Planning. Z6-2023 will go back to Development and Planning. And the noise special permit will go back to City Operations.
All right, very good. So we are next to resolutions for action. And our first one is the appointment of Julie Durham as a business representative member of the Downtown Lansing Inc. Board for a term to expire June 30th, 2026.
Councilmember Spitzley.
Thank you, Madam President. What we have before us is an appointment of Julie Durham as a business representative member of the Downtown Lansing Inc. Board for a term to expire June 30th, 2026. Ms. Durham couldn't be here tonight, but she did talk about her vision for downtown Lansing. She is a resident of, a longtime resident of Lansing. She doesn't live that far away from downtown. And she's very passionate about wanting to participate in the growth of downtown. And so with that, I would move the resolution for the appointment of Julie Durham as a business representative member of Downtown Lansing, Inc.
Thank you. We have a motion before us. Are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Pose. Passes unanimously.
All right, then we're next to the tribute declaring June as LGBTQ plus Pride Month in the city of Lansing.
Councilmember Spatafor.
Thank you, Madam President. I would move the resolution before us presented by all council members recognizing June as LGBTQ plus Pride Month and proclaiming June 17th, 2023 as Lansing Pride Day. While we're passing the resolution, Councilmember Cost and I will be presenting this resolution at the Pride Festival, which begins in Old Town. I might not make it, Ryan. I'm going to attempt the 5K, so if I die, you'll have to present this for us.
I won't be doing the 5K, so.
All right. But I do want to invite everyone out. We have a lot of things going on in the city of Lansing. The Juneteenth Festival, obviously 30 years of celebration, but the Pride Festival begins at 1 o'clock in Old Town and goes through the evening, and the resolution before us recognizes that event as well as the month of June, recognizing LGBTQ Pride Month in the city of Lansing. So I would move the resolution and ask for support of the council.
All right, I was going to say this is your last resolution, but you've got a couple of more, so you can't die until after we get
It's
through.
just the 5K that's going to put me over the edge.
Well, all right. With that, we have a motion for the tribute. Do I see any questions or concerns? Only about your...
5K, what I believe.
With that, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank
Ryan
you.
would be my surrogate in the 5K. I'll give you my bib. All right.
All right, next to community funding, Olds Transportation Museum for the Car Capital Auto Show on July 29th.
Okay. Councilmember Spatafor.
Thank you, Madam President. This is an annual event. The Olds Transportation Museum is asking for a $250 waiver for equipment and rental fees. This is the permit application fee. They're asking for that to come out of the City Council's community funding budget. They are hosting the Car Capital Auto Show and Car Show on July 29th, 2023 from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. This year it will be at the Ariel's Museum down off Museum Drive as opposed to the downtown location. One of the reasons they're doing that is to bring folks into the museum to learn about the broader history of the transportation industry here in the city of Lansing. They'll be celebrating all of the industry, not just the Oldsmobile component. One thing that's of particular interest, this year they're going to have the 496 project exhibited as part of the car show. So that's going to be an interesting bit of our history. That if you haven't had a chance to check that out, it was at the NEPS building until recently, so they're moving that over to the Transportation Museum for that, as well as the 75th anniversary of NASCAR, which they will have prominently featured the stock car that the museum has on display there. So my father-in-law is very much looking forward to this, so I will see you all there unless I don't make it through the 5K on Saturday. So I'll move the resolution.
Okay. We have a motion on the resolution. Are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. And Councilmember Spatafor.
Right.
Well, this should go with you too. I mean, this is a senior thing.
Yeah, this is a senior
yeah,
thing.
never mind.
It's for senior fitness, so this is great for me. This is a resolution from AARP, the Community Challenge Flagship Grant. It's $21,000 for the city of Lansing to help defray senior fitness memberships for Lansing residents, as well as pay fitness instructors. So we have a more permanent schedule for senior classes, exercise classes. See, there's no city match, and they will be. This is supporting existing programming, but also adding some new programming to the parks and recreation department's offerings for 60-plus residents of the city of Lansing. So I would move the acceptance of the grant.
All right, we have a motion on the table. Are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Okay, next we are to the budget amendment fiscal year 2023 to 2024.
Vice President Garza.
All right, thank you, Council President. This will balance the budget for the fiscal year 2023-2024 budget and restore the operating budgets for various departments. And with that, I would move the budget amendment for fiscal year 2023-2024.
We have a motion on the table. Are there any questions or concerns? At this point, I'd like to divide the question, and I would like to pull off the HRCS part of this, and I'd like to recuse myself.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to recuse Councilman Wood. All those in favor, please state by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes.
Okay, on the HRCS budget, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Councilmember Spitzley.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to peel off the Department of Economic Development and Planning and recuse myself from voting.
We are separating the Economic Development and Planning budget, and we have a motion to recuse Councilmember Spitzley. Are there any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of the recusal say aye. Aye. Opposed? Aye. Passes passes by one. Who was the one that? Okay. Thank you, Councilmember Spatafor. All right, now we have the rest of the amendment before us. Seeing no other comments, all those in favor of the rest of the budget amendment say aye. 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 Opposed? Opposed. Okay, we have a 7-1. Pardon? Oh, I'm sorry. EDQ. EDP budget. All those in favor of the EDP budget say aye. 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 Opposed? Okay, that passes 6-2. One recusal and one no vote. Okay, and thank you for catching that. Lisa, I appreciate that. That takes us down to reports from council members and this council committees, and this is a public safety housing update, and that would be Councilmember Hussein.
Sure, and so you do have the update in written format in your council materials. I will be brief, and I'm certainly not going to cover everything that's in that report. Frankly, we haven't had movement in some areas, and then in other areas we haven't seen a ton of movement. So there's not a lot to update with regard to those specific fronts. In any event, just to remind folks, we did have a special committee of the whole dealing with the number of red tag properties in the city of Lansing, the number of dilapidated homes in the city of Lansing. And although this was an issue that had really been growing, festering for quite some time, this special committee of the whole meeting was precipitated by a Simtob property, West Homes, and the displacement of, I should say, red tagging of that particular property, and then the displacement of some 15 families, some who unfortunately were initially moved to other tagged units throughout the city of Lansing. In any event, there were a number of departmental leaders at that particular meeting, as well as senior level management. We had a number of questions, many that were answered, some were not answered, but there were also commitments that were made at that special committee of the whole. And so in turn, Councilwoman Wood charged the Public Safety Committee with tackling the unanswered questions, as well as making sure that there was transparency and accountability with regard to commitments that were made at that particular meeting. And so we've actually been taking the issue up quite frequently as part of our public safety meeting. We have now met, on April 4th, April 18th, May 2nd, and June 6th. We have had members from Economic Development and Planning on hand, Law, Human Relations, Community Services, and Lansing Police Department, all having some measure of jurisdiction over housing in the city of Lansing. In any event, this is the second update, the update that is before you. And what I want to do is just go over a few points. On page number 1, if you take a look at the 7th question, it's about 2/3 of the way down. What is the question is, sorry, what is the red tag, neat team, and pink tag numbers currently? And this is something obviously we want to frequently update folks on. And then the second part of the question, have we begun to look at average duration of red tag properties? And what about the reporting tool that we are looking to create so that the public can easily access this info at any time? We have seen quite a bit of movement with regards to this particular front. It says that ED&P is now tracking not only the number of red tagged and neat team properties, but also the duration of those properties being designated as such. We had obviously a number of properties listed among the 700 plus red tag properties that had been tagged for some 20 years. And so we are really concerned about not just the number, but how quickly we are actually getting these back into compliance and back onto, or I should say back into some livable condition. They are still working on how to best pull from BSNA and calculate duration and place into Excel. They will pull this on a monthly basis to demonstrate improvement or lack thereof. This is the information that will be provided as part of a dashboard for the public and all other stakeholders, because we want to make sure that this information is accessible to not only different departmental leaders, as an example, that might have jurisdiction over this, or you think of Lansing Housing Commission, you think of MISTA, you think of people that are actually placing people into the homes throughout the city of Lansing, but we also want the public to be able to access this information. We, again, were over 700 units in terms of red tagged properties back in April. We are currently at 672 red tagged properties. We have 483 neat team properties at this point. We have 296 pink tagged properties, and the red tag duration is at 34.8 months. And the pink tag duration is 13.39 months. So those are our initial numbers. So what we're hoping is that as we continue to kind of do a top-down analysis of our procedures, our policies, as we see a little bit more vigilance out in the field with regards to enforcement, that we see those numbers come down. If you look at page number 2, and you look at question number 2, it says, has code now been actively vetting new properties that red tagged displaced residents are moving to ensure the new property isn't tagged as well? One of the things that was most discouraging to us when we went out to the properties on Kalamazoo that a number of these families were being moved to was that those properties were tagged as well. And so we need to make sure that we have some process in place to ensure that when these people are being displaced and moved into other units across the city, that those units are actually up to code. So in any event, it says that code is now talking to tenants, asking where they are being moved to and looking those properties up in BSNA. Tenants are also encouraged to call code to ask about potential moving locations. However, there are also times when BSO, which is Building Safety Office, tags buildings, and their process for tagging and communicating is different from code. Which is a huge issue. This is an issue that we've been talking about now for a couple of years. There have been some remedies that have been explored and even some efforts that have been implemented. Unfortunately, there were some prior staff members that bucked some of those remedies. As a remedy to these silos the shops have been operating in, ED&P is now having a weekly departmental managers meeting to ensure everyone is on the same page in terms of processes and communication. ED&P, which is Economic Development and Planning, as well as our city IT, are also working together to find a way to allow all stakeholders, including but not limited to MISTA, LHC, Land Bank, et cetera, to access tag property information. So placement into tag properties is not occurring, which I referenced earlier. There is still more work to be done to come up with a comprehensive solution. And then if you look at the first question on page 2, it says, have we issued or awarded bids for the outside expert, which we've heard a lot about this, that we need this top-down analysis of our policies, of our procedures within code compliance, and that it really would benefit the city to have an outside perspective. So in any event, the question was whether or not we had issued or awarded bids for this top-down analysis of policies and procedures, as well as for the fee study. The answer is that the fee study and expert RFPs were finalized, posted, and proposals have been received. This is, I referenced earlier, there was a conversation in committee about how they did not think that they could actually award this because of the 15% operational cut sustained in the upcoming budget. And of course, we reminded him, the Economic Development Planning Director, that the 15% operational cut was an agreement made between the mayor and Carol Wood, and that we had always intended to make sure that their department was fully operational in terms of funding, and that there was no reason that couldn't be issued come July. We also learned that or awarded, I should say. We also learned, and this was really concerning to me, we learned that we can only bill addresses and not units. And so that is something we're taking a look at. And what that means is if we have, as an example, you look at Sycamore Townhomes, and you have one building that has 10 townhomes. You can, if you're talking about 10 tagged units within that particular building, when we look at the $150 monitoring fee, that is only applied to the building, not to each individual unit. So when we talk about lack of, covering cost of doing business, and we talk about kind of a financial motivation or incentive for the landlord to start bringing things up to compliance, that is an issue that we have got to try to remedy. Okay, and then lastly, and I shouldn't say lastly, but if you look at page 3, and you look at question number 4, it says, have we begun testing and interviewing for the code compliance manager position? This is a critical position, and we absolutely need to make sure that we are hiring for that position, that we're hiring the correct person. It says that we are working with human resources to devise a testing component. We do have a group of applicants. We're also working with groups such as the MML to secure more applicants, and we will work with the first group of applicants and pursue additional applicants simultaneously. There's a lot to unpack there. And we did talk about human resources. We talked about our processes, the fact that we're criminally slow when it comes to posting, when it comes to testing, when it comes to interviewing. We have heard from a number of folks that have seen postings, City of Lansing positions. They have, when you have I guess, motivated job seekers. They're not just looking right at City of Lansing. So we have heard stories where you have somebody that has literally applied, been tested, interviewed, and accepted a job before they've even heard back from the City of Lansing. So we were incredibly concerned. We'll continue to push because that is a critical position. But I think there's a broader conversation to have about human resources in our processes. If you look at question number 5, it says, have we posted for the vacant premise position? Again, critically important. We have 4 right now premise districts. We have 3 individuals working those 4 districts, and we know that simply is not enough to keep up with the workload out in the field. It says that the position has not been posted. However, HR did ask Economic Development and Planning to prioritize vacant positions due to HR capacity issues. So they have actually referenced the fact that they could not, there's 14 vacancies within Economic Development and Planning right now, and that they simply didn't have the capacity to post and test and interview and things of that nature. So when prioritizing of those 14 vacant positions, ED&P ranked the vacant premise position as number 4. So we're certainly hoping that that is forthcoming. If you look at under law and LPD, the first question, have we prosecuted any landlords that are renting to tenants in red tagged locations? Ms. Lisa Hagan gave us a great update. It says as of May 2nd, we have not seen, as of May 2nd, we had not seen any additional reports coming from the Lansing Police Department. We had received a first batch at that point that had issues and were not enforceable. However, law is now receiving more reports. 3 types of issues that law is seeing. 1, owner-occupied violations, 2, squatter violations, and 3, tenant violations. And what we've been, what we have begun prosecuting more frequently is those first 2 types of violations and not the latter, okay? We do, if you look under response via LPD was not able to be on hand. However, Captain Deal did give us a number of responses, so I would encourage folks on council to look through that. If you have questions, let me know. And then Human Relations and Community Services let us know the Thursday before the meeting that they would not be attending because they did not have updates. However, we did get some measure of an update through written format, so I'll make sure that we provide that as well, and if there are questions, you certainly can reach out. What we are committed to doing in public safety is continuing to push for accountability, transparency, and more importantly, actual movement with regards to our procedures, our policies, our fees, et cetera. Because to have, some 1,000 units in the City of Lansing, when you're talking about 55,000 dwellings, some people say, well, that's not concerning. I say it absolutely is. So we are committed as part of public safety, and we're committed to continue to update this committee, or this council. Thank you.
Okay, then we're next to ordinance for introduction. I'll read into the record. Councilmember Hussein introduced an ordinance of the City of Lansing, Michigan to amend Lansing codified ordinances by amending Chapter 1060, Section 1060.08, and Section 1060.99 to clarify abatement and enforcement penalties. This ordinance is read for the first time by its title and referred to the Committee on Public Safety.
Yeah, so really what we're trying to get done here, this is an effort, if we could have Mr. Andrew Kilpatrick, who is in the gallery, come on down while I kind of preface this. What we are trying to get done is we're trying to operationalize once and for all our ordinances that would allow for the abatement of trash bins and recycling bins in the public right of way. We
2000.
Yeah, so this, I mean, we have been going now round and round about how we actually operationalize about who's supposed to be enforcing, how we're supposed to be enforcing, and this goes back to about 2018. So in any event, we took this up once again in public safety as we learned that this had not been enforced. We actually had, at that time, code compliance let us know that they had been noticing, but that there had actually been no enforcement because at that time, public services, they thought, were charged with the actual abatement of the bins. A number of concerns were brought forth when we actually brought in public services as well as law to talk about the enforcement aspect of this. They had some concerns with our ordinances as written, and so they kind of got together, came up with some solutions, and Mr. Andrew Kilpatrick is here to discuss said solutions. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you very much for the opportunity. And as you pointed out, there have been issues over the years with the enforcement of this, and this does not solve all the issues, but as far as the actual tickets, we can write a civil infraction. This will clear that up. We still have an issue with abatement and time period there for notice, but this will at least allow us to go out and ticket those that are leaving their bins out in the right of way, whether they're trash or recycling. So I think from the law's perspective, this makes this enforceable, whereas before there were some issues with that. So if there are any questions, I can attempt to answer those. And there was also kind of a question before with code going out and issuing kind of violations, but we have different systems, and then public service is responsible for the abatement, so there were things getting dropped in between the two of us, and this resolves it. We've had discussions with EDP folks, and public service will be taking this over, so all those complaints will be going to public service being in one system, and we'll be able to go out and issue those civil infractions.
Councilmember Hussein?
You have a question?
Oh. Councilmember Spitzley.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you for that. So when you say right away, so if someone, I'm trying to figure out what that means. So if Patricia brings her trash onto the area, you got your yard, the sidewalk, that area, that's the right of way area you're talking about?
Correct. For most of the city, that would be the area from, to get technical, about a foot behind the sidewalk out towards the road. So if you don't have a sidewalk, then it's harder to know exactly where the right-of-way is. But basically, these have to be then taken back off of the public property, the public right-of-way, and stored on private property.
Is the edge of your driveway right-of-way?
So your driveway, what we call the driveway approach, is the right-of-way, but once it gets back behind the sidewalk, so you can't store it like in that driveway apron area, but where it narrows down behind the sidewalk, that would then be your private property. The intent is to have it so that it's kind of out of the way and you can't see it from the road, but we know with some houses, that's not always the case. So we at least want to get it out of the public right-of-way and move as far back as possible.
Thank you.
And what this would do would allow for ticketing, and this would be, the first offense would be in a calendar year would be $25. Second offense in a calendar year would be $50, and the third or subsequent offenses would be $250. It's my understanding, and Lisa, please correct me if I'm wrong, but it's my understanding that we did have some that bins that were confiscated, and the courts ruled that we could not confiscate those because they were paying. Is that correct?
I would defer to Mr. Kilpatrick on that. OCA, that was in the magistrate. So
okay.
Yeah, so I believe that we had some tickets that were written that the magistrate threw out, several of them. The issue with bins being confiscated, at least as far as the recycle bin, is they are paying a fee for the year, so we can't take service away from them. We do charge a special collection fee, so we have to pick it up. It has trash in there. Then we charge a fee to pick that up and take that back. But because they pay an annual fee, unless voluntarily they give it up, we can't take that service away because they've already paid for that on an annual basis.
So in setting this public hearing, what we're doing is trying to make this operational, since it has been on the books for some time and we haven't been able to do that. So,
Yeah, and I think to that point, just to be clear, what we are looking at doing is setting a public hearing for June 26th. And we may be asking for approval that night. We've been through this process. We've received public input. The public has been supportive. We're simply trying to, again, we've been saying this ad nauseum, but trying to operationalize this. And so in any event, the only other thing I just want to remind, and maybe we got it and I missed it, we did ask for some outreach to Granger as well as Waste Management about pickup schedules.
Yep. So we have reached out to them. Granger is providing us an updated schedule. One thing that I did reach out to Waste Management, and at least for the list that was provided by the clerk's office, they do not have a current waste hauler permit, or at least didn't as of the time that I reached out to them. So that's something that we'll need to follow up with to make sure that they actually, if they're doing any kind of, collection, that they actually have the required waste hauler permit.
okay. Yes, Ms. Spitzley.
Madam President. We kind of went through this last year, I seem to recall, when I was on government ops. I think that was, I don't understand how a major company who is doing business in the city of Lansing collecting trash does not have a license to do this. Just it boggles the mind. We've brought it up before. When we were doing the ordinance. If you recall, we were doing this ordinance trying to get all this information from these waste hauler companies, and we come to find out that our own waste hauler that we were hiring to pick up trash wasn't licensed.
Okay.
Now we have another major trash hauler in the city of Lansing not licensed. In the meantime, we could do our own trash and we could have the city of Lansing on blue cards, but we allow a major waste hauler to do business in the city of Lansing unlicensed. Were they licensed last year? How long have they been unlicensed?
I think that's a good question, and we'll, when Clerk Swope is back, we will be glad to have that conversation with him, since
Thank you.
You received the license through the clerk's office.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The only other point of clarification, so in terms of enforcement, because I want to be crystal clear, enforcement with regard to this will be done by the engineering permit staff. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. All right. With that being said, I would move the resolution to set a public hearing for June 26th.
We have a motion before us. Are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Seeing none? Passed unanimously. Thank you. And again, that was waste, is that waste management?
Waste management,
Waste
yes.
management.
If you'd like, I can provide the list of approved waste haulers that we got from the clerk's office, so you're aware of everyone that is approved currently, at least.
Okay, we would appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, next we are to speaker registration for public comment, city government-related matters. For anyone to speak on city government-related matters, you have about 30 seconds left to go see Grace to fill out the yellow form, if you haven't already done so. We are the reports of city officer, boards and commissions, communication petitions, and other city-related matter.
Vice President Garza.
Thank you, Council President. I move that all items be considered as being read in full and that the proper referrals be made by the President.
Are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Okay, then items from the city clerk, minutes of boards and commissions placed on file.
Placed on file.
Ethics Complaint 2023-01 Investigation Summary Report.
Committee of a Whole.
Grant Application 2023 State of Michigan Office of Correction, Community Corrections Funding Application.
Ways and Means and Internal Auditor.
Items from the mayor, appointment of Joshua Pug as a thank you, as an adjunct neighborhood resident member of the Downtown Lansing Inc. Board.
Development and Planning.
Okay, we're on to appointment of Morgan Butts as an at-large member of the Arts and Culture Commission for a term to expire June 30th, 2025.
Development and Planning.
That one was pulled. I'm sorry. Yes, number 25 was pulled by the mayor's office. Appointment, so number 27, appointment of Shane Muchmore as a second ward member of the Planning Commission for a term to expire June 30th, 2026.
That's going to be referred back to the administration. That's because the information on the application says Patrick Muchmore instead of Shane, so that will be referred back to the administration.
Okay. Next is ordinance to clarify the parties responsible for prohibiting the occupancy and maintaining of vacancy of placard equipment and structure, and the hearing for that.
That's public safety.
Okay, and we have the order to make safe for demolish to the owners of 1232 Potton Circle, and setting the hearing for that.
And that is going to be referred back to the administration. The information sheet says on here that it was approved by the demo board on April 27th, and it states that Scott Sanford is the code compliance manager, and he was not employed at that time. His last day was March 24th.
Okay, we are next to setting a show cause hearing to make safe for demolish for the owners of 1232, no, I did that one, sorry. Order make safe for demolish for 1402 Marquette Street, and setting the hearing for that.
That will also be going back to the administration for the same reason. The public hearing for the make safe for demolish was held on April 27th. It states that Scott Sanford was the code compliance manager. However, Mr. Sanford had left employment at the city on March 24th.
Special assessment, snow and ice removal, winter 2022-2023.
That's going on to the city operations.
And the city and the hearing for that as well.
Yes, city operations.
Okay, so we're noise special permit for Levitt and Stark Excavating to conduct work as part of a CSO 015 South project, and the hearing for that.
City operations.
All right, grant acceptance, MI Court Volunteer Stream Cleanup Program grant for Parks and Rec Department.
Ways and Means and Internal Auditor.
Local Development Financial Authority fiscal year 2023-24 budget.
Ways and Means and Internal Auditor.
And then the budget amendment fiscal year 2023-2024.
Committee of a Whole and placed on file.
We have a business license appeal, DeAndre Thomas for a transient merchant license at 2215 West Holmes.
City operations.
And then we have a business license appeal for Gino Torello as a transient merchant license at 2200 South Cedar Street.
City operations.
And then we have a claim appeal, claim 1961, David Lackey for $1,630 in trash removal fees at 2033 Culver Avenue.
City operations. And then we have the following that were referred back to the president from the Development and Planning. We have appointment of Jesse Flores, and that is being referred back to the administration because the application states his name is Jesus A. Flores Jr., and the resolution does not state that. We are also referring back the Oprah District and the Oprah Certificate for 230 West Holmes back to the administration because this party owes $3,236 in outstanding code violations. So those are being referred back as well to the administration.
Okay, we are to remarks by council members.
Are there any council member comments? Seeing none,
Remarks by the mayor or executive assistant?
All set, thank you.
No? Okay, thank you.
Okay, there were public comment on city government related matters. You have 3 minutes to speak. Our first speaker is Erica Lynn, followed by Rosalind Williams.
Hello again. I'm not going to read the entire email just because for sake of time, but I'm going to reference it, and hopefully it's referenced later. But you all may already be aware of it. I hope you have. I hope that more people from the public forwarded on to you all because it is of great concern. There was an email sent out today by the mayor of our city soliciting funds in order to contribute to certain city council candidates' campaigns and support. I don't know how to, formally, I'll look into it, but I want to publicly address that because according to the Michigan Municipal League, the Michigan Statute Act 160, 1976, that's MCL 15.401. I'm sure you all are very aware of that because it's political activities and what is allowed and what is not allowed. That email absolutely violates that statute. The public official, which is our mayor, is using his position and his public assets, which would be his title and his position as mayor, for his personal political benefit. He is soliciting contributions to his leadership fund, seeking support for his vision for the city, which is absolutely a personal political endeavor. That is the very definition of that. That statute prohibits any public officials from using any public assets for any personal political gain or for the benefit of others seeking elective office. So using, by very nature, the title of mayor to seek personal political benefit or the political benefit of others is an absolute violation because it implies the endorsement and or the support of the city and its resources for personal political purposes. So even though I know that there's, city attorney may have been consulted, whatever. Even though that official email was not used, using the title of mayor in a communication that's related to any political activities is still seen as leveraging one's position, the public authority of that position, for personal political gain. That statute exists to ensure that public officials do not use their titles or their positions to advance personal or political interests, regardless of what email is used or what platform used for communication. So the implications are clear, and I think that that needs to be addressed very specifically. I have a little bit of time left. I also want to address something that was very, very egregious and was flatly denied and dishonest last week at the Eastside Neighborhood Organization's meeting. There were some public comments made, and I know you all it was referred to committee for the ethics violation report that came out. I do want to completely acknowledge that the comments that I read that were made by the mayor regarding Councilmember Brown were extremely unprofessional. I would stand that that is also an ethics violation, and the fact that he publicly denied making those statements, even though we have them on record with the actual complaint that he absolutely did make them, I think that also calls for an investigation as well. He made those accusations that were very unfounded, and I think that in addition to the egregious nature, the harm that it caused inevitably should also be investigated.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Rosalind Williams, followed by Tricia Washburn.
Good evening. Good to see you all again. I actually came here because I wanted to support Councilman Brown. Why? Because of everything I heard tonight again about the different neighborhoods, committees, and all of that. He has actually reached out to people to help. His job is to be a civil servant, and that is what he is. The things that I've seen and heard tonight have really vexed me. Neighborhood segregations. We don't want an apartment here. We don't want that there. The report, I read the report. Actually, I read all 200 pages of the agenda tonight, and I was disgusted, totally. Again, your CEO is not in the room. I'm just baffled. This same man, for 2.5 years, I've reached out to say, hey, I need your help. And I'm just gonna call it what it is, racism. You can come when a white person comes and says, we have no hot water. He came to Autumn Ridge. I had no heat on the coldest day there was. Did he show up? No. What really, and excuse my French, I'm going to say, what the hell is really going on in this city? Why are we doing this? Why are we segregated? Why don't we care? If it's not somebody that he wants to deal with, he's not going to deal with it. I'm reading this report. You're attacking a black man. You attacked me after a council meeting saying what I wanted. I'm grieved that this man can still run this city with no ramifications and all the ethical violations that he does, but we want to slap Councilman Brown and say, hey, we can kick him out. He might need to go. We need to start top down. Let's do some investigating because there's no checks and balances. There's nothing in place. I've been here I loved this city when I came here. I'm disgusted now to even say I live in Lansing. There's nothing here that makes me want to stay. The only reason I'm here is because I am a school board member and because I believe that at some point in life, somebody will hear the voice that I have to make a difference. He's upset because I work for MISTA and I gave my boss that red tag list. Yeah, I'm gonna say it, I did. Because one, those numbers are not right. We don't have 600 red tags. We have more than that. Autumn Ridge should not be counted as one unit. It's 618 units. That's thousands of people that are gonna be homeless soon. What are we doing? Councilman Brown has said, what can I do? He gave me everybody in this room and some to no avail. When I walked out of here in March, nobody has called to say what's going on with you. If a friend did not open their door to me, guess what? I would have been among the homeless. Do we really care? But we push his agenda because he's the mayor. So whatever he says goes, and anybody that's in the way that bucks is going to be harmed in some form or fashion. Well, I refuse to allow that to happen any longer by all means. If I have to go to the President of the United States, it's time for us to make a difference. Each one of you, I love you as people, but we can't continue to bow to his will and whims. It's no good anymore. I mean, it is what it is. Separation and segregation. That's what it comes down to. All of this is foolishness, and I'm unhappy.
Thank you.
Our next is Tricia Washburn, followed by William Walker.
Hi, I am representing Nation Outside on behalf of the efforts to pass the Lansing Fair Chance Housing Ordinance, which I'm sure you've all heard of. I am not a justice-impacted person. I have no criminal history whatsoever. I'm just a volunteer for Nation Outside. And I was a housing navigator, and as a housing navigator, it was my job to house the homeless by putting them on programs and finding housing units and connecting them with landlords. And as you can imagine, this was a very impossible task, trying to house people that had justice-impacted records. It would take me months, if not years, to find a room rental that was $500 a month or less with utilities included. And when I found it, my client would be so excited and everything seemed to line up perfectly, but once the landlord ran those background checks, it was constant no, 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 no. And I'd have to go back to my clients and tell them that they were denied for the 75th time because of their background checks, and they would cry and explain to me how they're trying to work their way up in life, they're trying to get better, they're trying to live a better life, and the doors just keep slamming on them because of what they did in the past. And as I worked with my clients, I would see that none of them were committing crimes anymore. They were just trying to get their lives together. And these landlords wouldn't even see my clients. They would just see the background charge and deny them. And I would have to watch as my clients gradually just faded back into the life that they were living before. They went right back into cycling with drugs and alcohol and self-medicating for all their stress and not being able to work their way up because everybody was denying them. And, you know, we're a society that always says we want to decrease homelessness, decrease unemployment, get rid of the crime in our streets. And then we turn around and we deny people with backgrounds housing, good paying jobs, even higher education, even volunteer opportunities and internships. And all that does is create homelessness, create unemployment. It contributes to crime in our streets. And it is discrimination. And it keeps happening. And they were let out from prison and jail for a reason. They were let out because they were finished serving their time. They had finished their sentences, they had done their time, they repaid society, and they're just trying to get their life back together, but we keep slapping them with these labels and not letting them move on. And it's time to let them move on. And I'm asking you and everybody in this room to be just as passionate about reentry as I am, even if I'm not just as impacted, I've never done anything, I don't have any criminal history, I've never been homeless, but I see these people all the time, and it hurts me. And we need to move on and accept the Fair Chance Housing Ordinance for Lansing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is William Walker, followed by Loretta Stanaway. William Walker? No? Okay. Loretta? There you are.
I'll be really brief on this. This is that email from the mayor, and I will read part of it. With 2 open seats up for grabs, I am working to help elect a new generation of leaders to our city council. These folks will help our shared vision of Lansing to be a reality. Contributions to the Leadership Fund will help me support candidates to achieve our shared vision. I'm sorry, Mayor, but we elect people to represent us, not to represent you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next is Nicholas Sandy, followed by Stan Shuck.
Well, I'm sure you're all aware of this, of the mayor's email by now. It's because Facebook Guy Smiley posted it. Shout out to him for posting this. I would not have known about this had it not been for him. I'll read part of it. I know someone's already read it, but I'll just say this. Please contribute to my leadership fund so I can make sure that we have the right partners, and that should be in major quotations, growing our city. With 2 open seats up for grabs, which I don't know why you have to use 2 of those things. It's like, that's overdoing it when it comes to sentences. Nobody talks like that. I am working to help elect a new generation of leaders to help to our city council. Okay, I'm just gonna say this very clearly. It is up to the people of the city of Lansing to decide who should be elected to our city council. Not our mayor, not anyone currently serving on council, the people of the city of Lansing. I will give congrats to the elected officials who actually had the decency to declare that they won't be endorsing any candidates. I will not be saying their names, but I'm glad they have a sense of, well, of neutrality and understanding that the people of the city of Lansing should speak before them and not the other way around. But too bad the mayor doesn't have that sense of decency. And I'm just going to say this very clearly, and I'm just going to say it bluntly. I know there's been several calls that the mayor should resign over the years. Right now, I think not only do I think he should consider resigning, he absolutely must resign, because doing this is a violation of law. This is not only that, but it's a straight up war crime to be bribing candidates to do your bidding like that. This is just straight up wrong on so many levels, and well, yes, you are allowed to endorse whoever you want. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, we do have a First Amendment right, but straight up bribing them and doing that over email, just straight up, that is just wrong on so many levels. And because of that, I think we should call on several organizations, including one that I'm a member of, to call for his resignation.
All right, next is Stan Shuck, followed by Farhan.
Good evening again, Stan Shuck. I want to address that chip sealing again. As you may have seen on the news and everything else, it was pretty bad. Well, since then they've came out and swept. The city swept during the day, so they had to go around cars and everything else. So that's not really a deluxe job by any stretch of the imagination, but they did it. And there's still a bunch of gravel there. All they did was the gutter pans. So I got to ask, because it was on the news and Mr. Kilpatrick was interviewed by Larry Wallace in front of City Hall, said that he was in close, I'm going to quote that, close communication with the company. Well, when are they coming out to estimate the damage and to estimate repairs, to even look at them? Because now that the gravel's gone, there are thousands of bald spots all over the place with no gravel, anything on them. So like he told the public on public television, he's in close contact. So there's been a couple of public service meetings since then. I'd like to know what was discussed about that, what was said, where is he at in those discussions, what was said in those discussions, because nothing's happening. And this is, we're almost to July now. This was supposed to be addressed in the spring, as you said last fall. We'll be out in the spring. Well, here we are. We're in the summer. And we're still in bad shape citywide. I'm sure Jeremy's area is the same way. I don't know if they swept your area yet, but they actually came out and cleaned a couple catch basins too. I don't know when they did that, but they came out and got them cleaned out as well. But the citizens need to know when these repairs are going to be made, when the estimates are going to be made, how it's going to be paid for. That's the big question. Is there going to be repairs made? And if there is, the company going to come back and do it out of the goodness of their heart? Is that coming out of the stretched public service budget? Are you going to maybe not fill a few more positions so you can get somebody out there to fix it? Exactly how that's going to work. I wish Mr. Kilpatrick could fill in the council and the community as to what's going on with our roads. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, next is Farham, followed by Michael Lynn as the last speaker.
Good evening, Farhan Sheikh Umar. Just a few things. Adam, the list that you talked about the red tags, where you, sorry, you're good. I'm gonna take advantage of it. Where you said we have over 670 or some red tag properties. I believe we have more properties than that. As the person before me had mentioned, we can't just give one apartment that has 600 units and just mark that as one. And also, a question that I wanted to ask you was, how many of those red tag properties, how many people are living in those properties? I think that's the most important question, because that goes against our city charter. Nobody should be living in those properties. And not only do we have people who are living in there, but they're paying money. And so these landlords are profiting from these people, which should not be happening. As far as Andy's newsletter goes, he has essentially put this body up for sale, and the highest bidder is gonna decide who gets to serve this community, which is very sad. We are at a time when people have lost faith in elections, in politics, and our public servants, and the last thing we need is a mayor who is essentially trying to buy people. And you guys should all condemn that. There should be condemnation across the board saying that you guys are not up for sale, and anybody who wants to serve this community should do it the right way, which is knock doors, talk to people, address the issues that are important to them, and not just seek the mayor's money. As far as people who wants to donate to that funding, I think whoever donates to that cause is dumb, because if you support a candidate, which I happen to be a candidate for city council, you can directly go to my website and donate to me. You don't need a middleman to support your candidate. So this is a way for Andy to steal money from folks. That's what he's pretty much doing. He's stealing money from folks. He's going to use that money for his next office. God knows what that is. He tried to leave the city a couple months ago to run for Congress. So who knows? But Andy's a thief. He's a liar. He's just a terrible leader. He would rather do anything besides the work that he's being paid to do, which is very shameful because he's getting paid $130,000, and we don't need him sending out letters encouraging his biggest donors to donate so that he can handpick who gets to serve. He's pretty much trying to stack city council, just pack. Just like it's no different from if we allowed Joe Biden to pick who serves on Congress and who, if he decided to pack the Supreme Court. That's literally what's going to be happening here in the city unless we say something and stand up against that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and Michael Lynn's our last speaker.
I'm really frustrated the coward in here. I really want to give him the finger standing up here. I even researched whether or not it was illegal or not, and I was probably going to stand here and give it to him the entire time. I'm sick and tired of this, man. Again, I'll start off with the illustrious mayor and what the Juneteenth committee said here. I really do want, so I'm gonna follow Nicholas Zandy and state. First of all, that guy's a genius. He's brilliant, honestly, when it comes to politics, man. I know you all listen, you know, we get a lot of laughs sometimes, but at the end of the day, dude's a genius when it comes to this stuff. So I'm going to ride with him on this. I think it's time for you guys to pull a no confidence vote. Absolutely. For sure. I think all of the neighborhood groups need to call for his resignation. That's an absolute fact. I think that you guys need to pull an ethics violations investigation, the same as you guys did on you guys have all been told right here in public about all the lies that he's made. Ryan, you witnessed him lie about the statements he made against Jeffrey Brown. So I remember a lot of you all spoke to why you all signed on to the ethics complaint, not necessarily because you believed it was a complaint, but because you heard third, fourth person and were advised by city council or by the city attorney that you needed to sign on to that. Well, you all need to absolutely pull an ethics complaint on this stuff in an investigation, a full-on investigation, and it doesn't need to go to the city attorney. It doesn't need to go to the mayor-appointed ethics board. It needs to be an outside attorney, maybe the Department of Justice. Somebody needs to look into this heavily. And not just this, but all the lying that goes on out here in the community. All the times that he said one thing in here, lied to the media, the whole situation behind him and Carol in this budget, he straight lied about it. To the media. I mean, he didn't even get out of this office, this dais good, and went to his office and lied to the media immediately. Why is nobody calling this out? And this is why somebody said today, well, it's getting really bold with this. Well, this is what unchecked corruption does. It gets bolder and bolder and bolder, period. And then we keep having meetings that are just status quo. This has got to stop, period. I just don't know how much grace does an individual get, honestly? How many times can he lie to y'all's face? Racism as it is, plain and simple, and she was correct. Anybody that goes against this mayor can just imagine, we're going to get the full efforts of all of his office. They're going to come on you, whether or not it's in backdoor meetings with commissioners, whether or not it's, you know, pulling ethics complaints on people, whether or not it's firing you, violating your First Amendment rights, whatever the case is, if you go against them, that's what's going to happen. And you all sit back and watch this. We are family here. You guys are just citizens. And I want to say this before I get off of here. What Mayor Shore did was absolutely illegal, plain and simple. We all know that. Even if it wasn't illegal, excuse me, I shouldn't say that. I'm sure that he ran it past the city attorney. I'm positive. And that goes back to the aspect that they can make an argument for anything. So you have to reach outside of that. But this is a warning out to those who may take those funds. I spend a lot of time investigating this stuff. I'll spend a lot of time and resources, whatever I have, making sure that people know about this stuff. I'll show up to every neighborhood meeting, every single one of them if I got to, and I will speak at every one and talk about the people that accepted those funds. So if anybody out here is running for city council and you accept any of those dollars or an endorsement from this mayor, I will make it my #1 goal to out you to everybody. Missy Lil J is the first that did it. I haven't started on her yet, but we're going to keep going. And anybody that receives any of those funds, we're coming for you.
Thank you.
That concludes our speakers.
Okay, we are adjourned.